So don't get me wrong. We are going to be praising these housing companies probably for the first time ever in doing a video about the housing disaster that is going on in the UK. But I've always said, hey, praise whether or anyone ever says anything or does anything good. Hey, I think they should be praised for, saying a good thing. And in this case, you've got all these building firms who ultimately are one of the big problems in our housing disaster that we have sleepwalked into, thanks very much to the Conservatives, have come out and said, hey, Sunak, you undoing all these green policies is going to hit hard housing investment. Like, yeah, we save some money in the short term, but long term, this damages all housing investment. So we need all those net zero policies you just cancelled. We want them back. So shockingly, like I say, praise where praise is due. They certainly do deserve this praise on this. And they have obviously sent this letter to Rishi Sunak calling on him to bring back these green policies. Now, will Sunak listen? Well, remember, these housing developers have been some of the biggest donors to the Conservative Party. So we'll see if Sunak relents. We'll see if he does anything on this. But once again, here's an interesting open point for Labour. Labour have already said in their conference they're going to announce big housing plans about how they intend to solve this housing crisis by unleashing the biggest social housing building program in a generation. I hope that they either cancel right to buy or they suspend it for a period of time, because a lot of housing campaigns will say that is what we need to do to be able to rebuild the housing stock, or at least the social housing stock that we currently don't have. So we'll see what happens. We'll see what the announcements are coming out of this Labour conference, but don't worry, we'll be definitely covering them when they happen and when they are announced. But we're going to have a look at this letter, see what these housing companies have sent to Rishi Sunak, because again, hey, praise where praise is due. Congratulations, guys. A broken clock can be right twice a day. So let's go getting into this letter, what they've sent to Rishi Sunak, and what could Rishi Sunak's response ultimately be to all this? Well, we'll find out. So before we do go diving into this, please do remember to click on the like, share, and subscribe button. And of course, down below, there are links to my Patreon page, the one foundation link called Buy Me Coffee, where you can buy me coffee. There is the YouTube thank you button, and of course, the Pony Club down below as well. So let's go on into this. So here it is. So the letter to Sunak, seen by The Guardian, notes that many construction and property companies were planning to make substantial investments in net zero, which are now in doubt. This is one of the things that we said when this announcement happened, that you had all these things planned to happen with net zeros and that companies were going to go in a net zero direction. Companies are very, very willingly and quite happy to go in that direction because they see it as a good investment. They see it as a good, they're planning for the future. So they've seen it to go good. So in the case of the housing developers, yes, we were going to go make huge investments into net zero. But because you've taken away all those green policies, all these potential subsidies that they were going to get, all those investments now in doubt. So this is what he had to say. So the 114 signatories include ARP, Lining O'Rourke Construction, BNP Paribas Real Estate, Landsec, BMA, Bruno Harpo, Golsover, Alverson Young, Great Portland Estates, Knight Frank, AECOM, Clarion Housing Group, and the CBR Group. And it says, our industry has been working hard to gear up for the acceleration of effort needed to meet net zero. But your announcement has signaled less, not more action needed, the letter says. So this is what you've had from that announcement. All these companies have now gone, well, hold on. What's Sunak just done? by cancelling these green policies, what about all our investments that we were planning and everything like that? So I would not be surprised. I would not be surprised if the following weeks we start to see other similar letters from other companies, or at least other industry sectors. So this one obviously comes from the housing and building association. Wouldn't surprise me to see other letters from other big company groups saying, hey, all those net zero policies you just cancelled going to negatively affect the UK, going to negatively affect our industries. What are you doing? But the letter continues. In order to bring forward big financial investments to recruit and train hundreds of thousands of people, and to bring the public along with us in this journey, we need confidence in long-term active policy support from the government. Your announcement has set that back. So all that investment, gone. The signatories also take issue with the insistence that these delays would these delays would save money for households, saying that the longer we delay the move, the more we see the stop-start piecemeal policymaking, and the harder and more expensive the task becomes. The signatories urge Sunak to bring forward a comprehensive national strategy to retrofit homes and buildings, including much higher sustained government investment and market drivers to stimulate private investment as well as regulation. And remember, this current Conservative government ain't interested at all in giving away subsidies. It ain't interested in giving away any form of regulation. They are anti government intervention. Two of the big things that probably we need to do. Now, we'll see what happens at the Labour conference, but we'll see. Like I say, we'll see what gets announced. But I am quite hopeful for that. That continues to say this would pay dividends to the Treasury in tax revenues. It also calls for new future homes and building standards. That this was supposed to be in consultation by now, but the government spokesperson has said that the aim was to now publish a consultation by the end of this year. Simon McGuala, the chief executive at the UK Building Council, who organised the letter, said it is beyond disappointing and simply reckless to see this false narrative from the government that delaying climate action would reduce cost to households. Decisions now about retrofitting or the quality of new buildings will dictate the quality and the legacy of what we're able to achieve for generations. Delaying policies just means that they have to be implemented much faster later, and it would push the cost up for everyone, homeowners and businesses alike. Another thing that we have mentioned when we talked about this, if you delay these policies now, it costs you more money in the future. Do it now and you save money. It's not that hard to do. Even businesses who we always said massively on board with the shift towards net zero, they saw it as a big investment in the future of their industries, in their own business. They were all for it. But of course, Sunak has gone, no, not interested. Why? Because of the whole ULEZ revolt, because they somehow think that it's some sort of maybe electoral strategy to try and hopefully maintain hold on a couple of seats. So far, this is not proving to be the case. Tor Burrows, the group sustainability director at the property company Grosvenor, had this to say. Diluting the UK's commitment to net zero is not the way to build our economy, create jobs, or address climate change. Businesses desperately need clarity and stability to help them plan how they will invest in green practices, tech, and skills. Without this, we risk losing out on crucial investment, which will need to ease the cost of living and increase the country's global reputation and competitiveness. What have we been saying about not going in this direction. Not only if we went in this direction would it ease the cost of living, it's damaging our global reputation by Sunak announcing all this. As we said, he embarrassed Prince William. He was at an international conference when all these net zero policies were dropped, but he was at a conference saying how good the moving to net zero all this will be. He was even giving out his own award, the Earthshot Prize, for people who have good innovative ideas for net zero and stuff like this. Completely an absolute embarrassment on a world stage, and we covered that just last week. Jonathan Gibson, the principal director for the environment and social and corporate governance at Aston United States, had also this to say: while we understand the challenges posed by the cost of living crises and the approaching elections, we must not compromise on our long-term stability goals for short-term political gains. And that's exactly what it was. It was a short-term political gain. I urge the incoming government, especially in the context of forthcoming general elections, to reconsider this regressive stance on net zero policies and demonstrate a genuine commitment to tackling climate change. Well, I'll tell you what, I am looking forward to Ed Miliband's speech as Shadow Business Secretary. I've always said Rachel Reeves, Ed Miliband. Rachel Reeves is going to be the greenest chancellor we've ever had, and Ed Miliband massively gets net zero, talks about all the business prospects it would bring, all the transformation of the green economy, and the growth that would bring as well. He gets it. Both of them are on the same page. So I am looking forward, especially to see not only what the Labour announcement over housing is going to be, but what Ed Miliband is going to say in his speech, and of course, what is Keir Starmer going to say in his own big speech as well? Because I'll tell you now, Rishi Sunak's speech was awful. Starmer has to perform here, and to be honest, he doesn't have to do much. He really doesn't have to do much to be able to give a good speech here. But the better he does, the more effort. And to be honest, from what we've been hearing from some Labour insiders, he's been practicing quite heavily in the run-up to this. So we're going to see, I think, to be honest, a good speech. But I'm looking forward to it. Either way, we should be hearing some good stuff. We should be hearing, to be honest, some relatively good stuff. And I'm looking forward to see what we hear, especially some of the shadow ministers that are in things like, so I'm definitely going to look out for what Ed Miliband's going to say, definitely what Rachel Reeves is going to say. I'm also going to be looking what their shadow transport minister is going to be saying as well. We'll see if we're going to get back HS2, but to be honest, I think that whole thing by Rishi Sunak was a complete mess. I think even Labour's like, well, we're not sure what to do either, because of all. But we've talked about that on the Good Morning Walk. We talked about that on the Labour Social just this week as well. Yeah, honestly, that whole thing is a complete mess. The future of HS2, as it currently stands, very, very much in doubt. We'll see what happens. And like I say, the Labour conference will probably dictate the future of a lot of stuff that is going to happen in the future. But it's good stuff to look forward to, nevertheless. So, as always, we'll see you all next time.